This is what practicing sounds like. It might not seem like it yet, but Nicolas here is making music, gradually, over months and years. The saying goes, practice makes perfect. And if you're asked how to get to Carnegie Hall, the answer is always, practice, practice, practice.
So that was not bad.
But lots of people practice and never come close to perfection, let alone Carnegie Hall for that matter. So what separates the pianists who manage to achieve world-class virtuosity and distinguish themselves on an international stage?
We just cheat normally. Focus on the top. And then you just put the pedal down. There must be a better word than cheating.
I promise he's an upstanding guy. Cheating just means something specific to pianists. I'll explain later. In this video, I go behind the scenes with 11 of the most talented young pianists in the world to find out how they train for one of the most preeminent international piano competitions, the Gina Bachauer. Meet Rachel, Carter, Giuseppe, Jonathan, Angie, Lixin, Marty, Nicolas, Anfisa, TianYi, and Misha. I caught up with each of them in the month leading up to the Bachauer competition, which takes place in the last 2 weeks of June, with every round being streamed on the Bachauer YouTube channel. Just click that link so you can make sure to subscribe and follow along with the competition. Or, if you're anywhere near the beautiful state of Utah, come on over and watch these phenomenal pianists compete live in Salt Lake City. I might just run into you in the audience. Thomas Edison famously said that success is 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. This video is about that 90%. Which takes place behind closed doors, often in small, unglamorous rooms where pianists sit and work alone, striving to maintain discipline and focus for hours and hours and hours every day.
For me, it's actually a relatively low number. I feel like 4 to 5 hours.
5-6 hours.
No less than 7-8 hours.
Minimum would be around 8 to 10 hours.
I mean, if you give me a whole day, I will spend 10 hours. I will spend 12 hours. Like, that's how much I love it.
I asked each pianist to do a bit of show and tell with specific passages from their programmed repertoire. And each reveals their unique way of applying mental and physical strategies to internalizing this complex music. And it's only in that process that inspiration becomes a factor. The work turns into a quest for refinement, distinction, artistry, and that je ne sais quoi that somehow leaves audiences in tears or goosebumps. Here's what they had to share. This is Carter Johnson performing Robert Schumann's David Spundler dances in the recent Montreal competition, where he made it all the way to the semifinals. But he says he has more work to do on the piece if he wants to make it even further in the Bachauer.
The David Spundler, the 6th one. It's really hard. I've performed this piece many times now, and this is always one of the ones that I'm most trying to sound a little bit more effortless. This piece in general, I think, is a lot harder than it sounds, and the 6th dance is probably the worst example of that. All the difficulties in the left hand, your fingers kind of get twisted around. If you don't use the precise fingering on which I've prescribed on every note, it's really easy to kind of lose your way and it just kind of falls off the rails. It's a little bit of the same difficulty as the Chopin Opus 10 No. 2 Etude. As you're stuck doing all of this kind of cramped finger work with just the one portion of your hand, because I got to keep my thumb for those upper notes. Then the question, interpretively for me, is do we want to hear? Or do we want to hear? Like just... We just want to hear the top voice. I think we should probably be able to hear both at different times. All of these different ingredients and different opposing forces, the listener can listen for each of them and find any of them at any given moment in time, which is part of the difficulty.
Definitely, I feel like more nervous for competitions because of the sort of possible consequences. Running through too much for recital might ruin the actual inspiration in the moment, whereas I want to be a little more consistent when I do competitions, so I run through quite a little bit more.
This is TianYi Li, performing Rachmaninoff's complete Etude tableau on a degree recital at the Juilliard School in New York.
For the quarterfinal rounds, I'm so glad we get to play 2 recitals without elimination. And for the second, much longer one, I'm doing the Opus 39 Etude tableau from Rachmaninoff. I never feel completely comfortable. There are different challenges from playing the Transcendentals or the Chopin Etudes. I feel like, especially the Chopin Etudes, they're much more difficult to get into your fingers and to get through. But you also forget them less frequently. I feel like the Rachmaninoff Etudes take such a tremendous amount of resources to upkeep. This part is one of the challenging parts. I mean, in the left hand. This is usually how I practice, sort of slow-ish. I usually do with even less pedal, but it sounds sort of really bad, actually. I find it practicing like this, I really learned where I do need pedal versus where I really don't need that much pedal, because I feel like a lot of the etudes is very easy to make it too blurry. It gives you more freedom, so you don't become entirely constrained or bored after you've done it a lot of times. Just actively preparing more carefully and reassuring oneself that you really have this under control is very important for me. And also just running through. Actually, it's not even that relevant how well the run through goes. I feel much more confident after I've done it.
While TianYi will perform a set of etudes by a single composer, Rachel Breen has concocted her own unique set of shorter pieces by an assortment of composers.
My program is eclectic. My first round is one of my Rachel specials. Well, it opens better than that. I am practicing on a Kawai CA79. It's my at-home electric piano, which helps me out when I can't practice at school. One of the biggest challenges for me is holding on to a lot of repertoire at a high level and figuring out what I need to do on which day for it to stay at the level that I want it to be at. About a month ago, I made a day-by-day schedule of what needs to get practiced when, which days I need to prepare which pieces, at what point I need to be running through my programs, because for me, that's kind of the thing that gets sidelined usually. So the next thing I was going to practice is this lovely Boulez piece that I chose inside my suite. And the problem with it is that I can't for the life of me memorize it, but I'm trying. So yeah, it sounds really great right now. Yeah, so most of my practice with this is like literally talking myself through to try to figure out how to get it stuck in my brain.
As a new resident of Utah, I can't say how cool it is to have a worldwide summit for aspiring concert pianists, like the Bachauer competition, just around the corner from me. The competition is named for celebrated Greek pianist Gina Bachauer, who concertized regularly with the Utah Symphony during her illustrious career and was embraced by the musical community in the greater Salt Lake area. The competition was founded in her honor after her passing in 1976, and it's still going strong almost a half-century later. The pianists featured in this video are a cross-section of the 32 competitors hailing from around the world. It was a privilege to spend time with each of these talented musicians who are at the forefront of a generation dedicated to extending this beautiful and improbable art form of classical piano interpretation deep into the 21st century. That includes Misha Galant, the lone Utah resident competing in the competition.
I've been living in Utah for 4 years, and I love it here. I love skiing and going into the mountains and just spending a lot of time outdoors. And just, it's a wonderful place to be. The beginning is actually, for me, the most awkward spot. I've been kind of struggling trying to get the phrasing. There's also just a lot of ornamentation that he puts in that I'm trying to fit in. In a lot of ways, the classical is a lot more difficult than the heavy Russian romantic. You can't really hide behind anything. For some reason, specifically, this phrase has been quite difficult for me. I think because of all the little components that it consists of and trying to tie everything together, making it flow and also making it not, boring. Even within this more serious of the Haydn sonatas, there is still quite a bit of humor that you have to capture. I think you have to feel as if you don't know what's coming next when you're playing. And this is the feeling you have to convey to the audience. I don't think that excessive motions, theatrics, help.
Neither Misha nor his fellow competitor, Giuseppe Guarrera, belongs to the stereotypical palm tree in a hurricane school of piano playing.
You look at pianists like Rubinstein or Horowitz, much more noble way of sitting.
I don't do those things. That you will not see it. I cannot do it. Because it's all inside, it's not outside. It comes, it's there, and when it comes out, it comes here, and the finger.
It comes more from just a general type of education of how to be a human being. I think it's a more aristocratic education. I don't know, it really feels to you as if God is talking to the whole humanity and say, no matter if you are a believer or you are not, it feels like something bigger than the human race is happening. Like I have a great, so-called in Chinese, Sifu, that is the master of Kung Fu, that is training me like 4 times per week. So I combine the practice at the piano, but then like 2 hours every second day I spend it outside in the park training.
The benefits of martial arts training extend both to the slow, spiritual exhale of the Bach-Busoni chaconne and to the fast reflexes required to master Liszt's demonic showpiece, the Mephisto Waltz. Again, Horowitz is a reference point.
Some things that Horowitz does, absolutely incredible. Especially from this sound imagination, it's completely limitless. The real challenge actually of this passage is not to get the right notes. Of course it's to get the right notes. But it's to get them extremely, extremely light. So that then you can create this contrast of I would say once the proper practice to prepare the body has been done, I find that it's very important to get into the right psychological space. In this particular piece, for me, when I was a child, there was a video game where you were Zeus, and here it fits somehow the same. Moment of jumps, it feels like it's escaping from this apocalyptic reaction, and then and then again you try it. And then of course at one point there is no way out, and then it comes and so on, and then I would keep working.
Whereas Liszt's Mephisto leaps test reflexes and accuracy, The perpetual broken octaves in the presto from Schumann's G minor sonata pose the problem of repetitive strain, for which Jonathan Mack has found solutions.
It's only a 5-minute movement, but 5 minutes of doing this straight is very tiring. And so what I've also been experimenting with is, it's not really cheating, but more redistributing between the two hands. So I'm not constantly doing this. Sometimes I might redistribute some notes. So for example, this opening. The first time through I might play it all with just my right hand, but in the later passages where I'm in the middle of like a 3-minute chunk without break, I might redistribute. So splitting up this. And then same thing here. As opposed to. Essentially the idea is for it to hopefully sound the same as if I was playing it as written, but just even those brief 1 to 2 seconds of tension release will help.
Pianists fortunate enough to make the final round of the Bachauer competition get the chance to perform 2 concertos with the Utah Symphony, a classical selection by either Mozart or Beethoven, as well as a virtuosic romantic concerto. The most popular selections in the latter category are often competition-friendly concertos by Tchaikovsky or Rachmaninoff and Prokofiev. These works are rife with pyrotechnics, including occasional passage work that has come to be regarded even by the world's greatest virtuosi as impossible if played exactly as written. Take this one spot from Prokofiev's Third Concerto, which no pianist plays literally. Instead, they're required to cheat or fake. In piano parlance, that just means to reconfigure the notes to make it easier to deliver the intended effect. Another such passage comes from a composer less known for his pyrotechnics, Brahms, whose second concerto Jonathan Mack chose to perform if he reaches the finals. In an otherwise fleeting moment in the fourth movement, Brahms decides to notate 2 simultaneous rapid scales a third apart in the right hand alone.
We just cheat normally. You like focus on the top. And then you just put the pedal down. What he wrote on the music is very difficult, especially to play it in pianissimo, leggero all the way out throughout. It's more of an effect rather than hitting all the notes.
In contrast to the big romantic concertos, Mozart's A minor rondo has no special effects. As a pianist, it's just you, the sound of each note, and the phrases you make from them. For Angie Zhang, that requires a commitment to listening carefully.
So for me, when I'm practicing, I think most of all it's about sound productions. Especially in slow music, because you're really peeling back every extraneous layer. There's nothing left except pure music and pure music making. There's nothing showy. I think it's a great way to bond with the instrument you're given and feel the whole purpose of me being here right now is to make the most beautiful sounds come out of an instrument. I think it really takes one's full energy, the level of dedication and awe. I think the music deserves that kind of reverence. If you give me a day where I don't have to do any other adulting matters, I think for a good portion of the day I would be at the piano.
Maybe some people might consider it not too healthy, but I like to run pieces through it immediately after I wake up. Just to, get myself in the stress zone and then totally unprepared and totally unwarmed up and just, give it a go and see how it works. Because I feel if I can play it under those conditions, I should be okay for the competition.
Lixin got that idea from legendary pianist and teacher Rudolf Serkin, who famously preached discipline and resilience in practicing.
if you can play it really nicely when it's slow and gradually up the tempo, then it should be okay when you play it quickly. So, for example, this run isn't always the easiest. So I try also to not play with pedal, just so I can hear everything very clearly. Play every note cleanly and then gradually speed it up. Then I think it should be okay.
Lixin was apparently blessed with calm nerves, which he attributes to his native country.
Yeah, well, I feel in New Zealand we're very chill all the time.
His Kiwi chill led him all the way to the silver medal of the 2021 Bachauer Young Artist Competition. Whereas Lixin has been on the biggest competition stages since he was a teenager, for 31-year-old New Yorker and Juilliard School graduate Marty Jacobs, this is his first rodeo.
This is my first big international competition. It's going to be a new experience for me. Never learned so much repertoire, almost 3 hours of music in my hands at one time. Kofiev's Sixth Sonata. It's in my larger 40-minute quarterfinal round. This is a sonata I've wanted to play for a while. Every time I've heard it, I've always thought it was very, very intense, very dramatic piece, but with a great range of characters in it. And that is sort of the challenge here, I feel, that I've been working towards, is creating special moments throughout it that would be memorable. I've kind of always struggled with those couple measures. So on a technical level, my left hand here has these chords where the thumb moves down, the third and the fifth fingers stay in the same notes. And what I realized I was doing is I was missing notes because I feel my hand was kind of locked, especially my thumb in one place, and I just kind of catching the same notes over and over. And so I've been working towards kind of keeping the thumb a little more flexible, make less motion happen, and make it a little bit more relaxed. So kind of having a little gesture in the arm to help me kind of go from going down, and then to help me switch directions to come back up. And with the right hand, the scale moves down, and then on this last note, there's an accent. And so I feel that you really need to go to that note with the accent. Altogether, I feel a lot more confident still just playing slowly, but. And then at a faster tempo. Even there, I still missed the note in the left hand. So it's a work in progress. It is one of his war sonatas written during World War II, so there is a very dramatic context to its composition.
A context that would also inspire a lesser-known set of 5 preludes that Anfisa Bobylova has included in her semifinal program.
It's written by Ukrainian composer Boris Latoshinsky during the Second World War, and now this music is for me very close and very important because of the war in Ukraine, and you can hear in this music emotions that Ukrainian people feel right now. When the piece has some polyphonical elements, I play different elements to hear clearly. It's something like different instruments from the orchestra.
Managing the polyphonic dimension of the music is also a concern of Nicolas Giacomelli, and is perhaps the defining aspect of high-level keyboard playing from the Baroque through the Romantics and to the present day.
The beginning of Schumann Kreisleriana for me, a piece that I really love, but it's very challenging, that first movement, not only because of the various voices and of the polyphony, but also from a very technical point of view. One of my main concerns for the competition, to let people hear different voices actually in such a fast passage. I just get anxious. I don't get sweaty palms or cold hands particularly. I just feel the pressure of the performance. if I feel like I have actually practiced enough and I'm actually ready for the competition, then usually I'm much more calm and much more ready to go perform.
This idea of transcending that is very much, for example, present in Liszt. No? The idea of trascendentale in Italiano would be transcendental. It means that all the work before has been done, and then finally you can reach this state of deep understanding. In that state, then there are not anymore those sort of problems like the solitude or the weight, because it just are part of a bigger process that is a musical process.